Good? All right, you guys are gonna be awesome. Ready? In 3, 2, 1. Hello everybody, welcome to the first edition of Musicians on Musicians. I'm Mr. Gentlecore. I am the instrumental band director at SCCS. So excited to be bringing you this new segment show, Musicians on Musicians. Seated here are all the members of our high school band. And the purpose of the show is, we play so many amazing music, whether it be singing or playing in the band. Rarely we would have that discussion about social commentary about music. It's like usually we'd be like sitting around with family, sitting around with friends, and something like that inspired me. I was like, well, I think it would be great to hear from our students and just to hear perspectives of what people are listening to, whether it be past, present, or future. So I have with me our members of the band, so we'll go around, introduce yourself, say what year you're in, and what instrument you play. We'll start with Charlie right over there. Charlie?
I'm Charlie Cafton, and I'm a senior, and I play clarinet.
I'm Maddie Pachelski. I'm a freshman, and I play the flute.
I'm Evelyn Morse. I'm in 9th grade, and I play the flute as well.
I'm Mason McCune. I'm a freshman, and I play the trumpet.
I'm Benny Bradley. I'm a senior, and I play the trombone.
My name is Reagan Gibson. I'm a senior, and I am a percussionist.
Awesome, great. All right, so the thank you all so much for being here. I'm really excited to have this conversation with all of you. So the first question, this is always like the loaded question. This is like, oh, you have to ask this question. Okay, it could be like a song or a memory, whether it be family or like you're alone with friends. Take me back to like something that was like the big bang for you guys for music. Like what was that like, whether it be that song or that artist or that sound that you're like, what is this? I got to know about this. Does anybody want to chime in with this one? Reagan, What do you got?
Secrets. Is it by I can't remember who it's by.
Okay, I'll look that up while you're talking about that. Yeah.
Secrets. It was in this movie. It was like The Sorcerer's Apprentice. It was some like straight to DVD like Disney movie, but it had like a pop song in it. And that was like the first song I ever I loved.
One Republic, by the way.
One Republic.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Interesting. Cool. And I guess is movie music something that like you're interested in, or is it just specifically that sound from that song?
Well, that song is a pop song.
Okay, so pop music in that sense.
Yeah.
Right.
And it really increased my love for very full sounding music. So orchestras and just songs that have a lot of, I don't know, you can encapsulate yourself in it. Kind of something like that.
No, that's awesome. Great. Anybody else have an idea? Oh, Evelyn, what do you got?
So the first time that I actually thought about, oh my goodness, I love this music or I love this artist, was when I started listening to Gordon Lightfoot with my dad.
That's always a good one.
And I think it was the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Right, the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Was the first time I was like, oh my gosh, I have to learn all the words to this song. I love this sound, I love this voice, and I want to be as smooth as that.
And in terms of also the fact, because like I said, Gordon Lightfoot, for those who don't know, from Canada, like I said, Canadian folk guitarist. And what's interesting is, I don't know if you know this, that that song is a true story, the record of the Edmund Fitzgerald. So that happened, it was like a ship in the middle of the night carrying the cargo and all that stuff, right?
Yes, it was. And it was interesting to me because I knew that my grandfather and grandparents had listened to these songs when they were young.
Right.
And so growing up with it seemed right. It seems oh, this is part of me because it's part of my dad and it's part of my grandpa.
Right.
So I thought that was the moment where I was music. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it's the passing down of family, oral tradition, and all that stuff, passing generation. I mean, that's the same thing with my family. Is that our families pass down so much music, and it's either you're gonna be like a fish. You're gonna bite the bait, or you're just gonna be nah, I just want to go into something else. But hey, appreciate it. It's good. Anybody else want to chime in? These are good. So Reagan and Evelyn, anybody else? Madison, what about you?
So I think my first intro to music was Baby by Justin Bieber.
Ah, the Babes.
I
That's
was-
awesome.
I was about 3 years old, standing on top of my rocking chair, holding on to the top,
Oh, that's awesome.
and just singing. And I love this song. I love music. It's just great.
Now, to follow up on that, now have you heard? Because it was what was it? I think I was at downtown Sandusky. I was walking around the marketplaces, and on the background they had "Bad Guy" by Billie Eilish, but it was the Justin Bieber sing version. If you've heard that before, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now, do you like with his voice with Billie Eilish, or do you like it without it? Because I know people have a big debate about that right now.
I think both versions are good. They're both great artists, and including Justin Bieber is like an extra add-on.
Mhm.
And I know that Justin Bieber, like his fame and popularity mixed with Billie Eilish, it's pretty good.
It's like a good fusion because
Yeah.
now you're seeing like a lot of that, like artists sort of fusing and coming together, and that's like, whether it be like, the one where Ariana Grande was with Nicki Minaj, or like you have like, Rolling Stones with Elton John and Paul McCartney. You're having this big sort of like sandwich of like so much delicacy of sound. It's like, it's insane. So yeah, no, that's awesome, terrific. Anybody else? Because Mason, what about you?
I'm a big fan of classical music, and really, I think the best thing about classical music is you really have to match it, to really how your day's going, your emotions, how the weather is, and one of my favorites has to be Dmitri Shostakovich's Waltz No. 2.
It's a good one.
And I really think that's really good for like rainy weather because it's a very slow and macabre song, really. So, I really think it's just good. You have to match it with how the day is going.
And what's interesting about that waltz is that like you have the use of the saxophone, which rarely you get that in classical music. So if those of you haven't heard that, it's used in some movies, and also it's got that very sort of waltzy sound, the da 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 do do da do da da dee da, and it's got that 1 2 3 1 2 3 in the waltz sense.
Yeah.
But what's really cool is that it's that rare fusion of jazz style, but in the sense it's not. It's like classical saxophone, which exists, right?
And I believe it was composed in the 1950s. So it's
So it's sort of the tail end of his life, basically.
very, very contemporary classical music piece. And I think that's why we see the incorporation of those instruments in it.
Because music in the 20th century tends to bridge off to be, at the end of World War I, you have musicians that are getting away from the romanticism because the Great War was so taxing on everybody, and they
Right.
didn't want romanticism. They wanted something cold. So what they ended up doing, and not to bring you guys down, bring the coldness of instruments. So it's like the woodwinds and the brass and the percussion. It's like we need to make everything harsh. And it's not saying as a criticism, it's just you need to go in a style where it's like, it's no different from a trend. You're going to grow up and listening to something from the 70s that's disco. There are those that love it, those that don't like it. And then everybody was like, oh, let's go more electronic. And that's what you get with the 80s with New Wave. So yeah, that's very cool. Anybody else? Benny, what about you?
I don't really have a moment of like just loving music. It's kind of just grown on me over time.
Now, I guess something for trombone, because you play trombone, was there like, I guess, a certain sound of trombone, whether it be like listening to like a Chicago or a band, was there like something that was like, oh, that's something that inspired you to play the trombone, or was there like is there like a certain band that you listen to or an artist that you're like, okay, I really like them?
No, I just really like brass.
Brass, basically. No, that's right. No, and brass is great, particularly like Chicago. Like their band, their sound was like really stellar with the horn section. So good choice. Charlie, what about you, buddy?
So my brother was in band, and I always thought it was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
When I was like 5, I would sit outside. So we lived close to the school, and I would listen to the band, and I would play my toy drum.
Okay.
I got pretty good at it.
Right.
So.
Awesome. Now I know because you play clarinet for the high school band, but you also play quatoms for our awesome marching band. And I guess for you, because I know when you start out, like you do the snare. What is it about like the quad? So I know like for those of us, they see the multiple drums. I guess what's the big difference between like a snare and quad? There's a big difference, but I'd rather hear from you. What is it about like quad that I guess is very driving because you got multiple sounds. It has different pitches. But what is it about you that you love about the quad tom?
I just like it better because there's variety. Like the snare is kind of boring to me.
It's like sort of like so it's one pitch where it's like a quad tom has got like 4 different sounds and you can sort of do. It's not like bells where it's like here's a pitch. There is pitch, but there's sort of like a balance between that and percussive. So, which is great. Awesome. Good. So so now what we're going to do in our part of the show is that we're going to have one of our students select a song that they want to present to us. We're going to listen to it in the background. Anybody can feel free to chime in. Those of you at home, you can also put up whether you have Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, whatever works, and play it along and listen to us. And we hope that you get influenced and inspired, and maybe this is something that'll test the waters and broaden your horizons. So who would like to be the lucky contestant? Reagan Gibson. Reagan, what do you got?
Sing, Sing, Sing. I believe it's Benny Goodman.
Benny Goodman. Okay, so talk to me. This is a very big standard in jazz. So what is it? Again, everybody's very familiar with the song. What is it about you that it hooks for you? As somebody, as a percussion player and also an amazing flag corps member in the marching band, shout out. What is it about Sing 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 as a percussionist or maybe even as a musician that gets you to go, I love this?
I just love all the different elements that go into the song in general. I love that for a percussionist in it, it's the driving force of the entire song for the most part. And then Sing 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 being that 1930s 40s ish time, it's very big band jazz, really just loud but not obnoxious. It's just a fun time, you're at a roaring 20s party of some sort. But,
right. Oh, sorry. Keep going.
No, you're good. But it's just like what I was talking about earlier with that sound that just kind of you can immerse yourself in that sound, the music.
Right, and also a rarity because you have Benny Goodman. Well, I shouldn't say a rarity. I should say you had some big band leaders like Artie Shaw and even Benny Goodman, where clarinet is the lead prominent voice now, which is again, it was somewhat common, but nowadays it's sort of rare that you have that clarinet as the leader. So we're going to listen to it, so feel free. Here's Sing Sing Sing. Benny Goodman is chosen by Reagan Gibson. Again, very big percussive opening. Trombones come in. Lead saxes. Quick four times. Yeah. 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4. Who do we have here that's big dancers? Anybody like big dancers? So this is something that again very popular with the dance scene. If you watch a lot of those videos with the dancing, this would be a huge, big Leslie Berkeley extravaganza sort of dance sequence going on, which is pretty huge. Now, Charlie, have you dabbled into jazz for clarinet, or is it mostly just classical is sort of your thing?
Just
Here and there. But is it something that you've always were interested in, or is it just something, it depends on the sound of the song, basically?
Right.
Okay, very cool. Time purposes,
Yes.
we're going to move on.
I was
Like I said, it's
I'm
a very,
wondering
very
when he's
long
gonna
song.
stop
But no,
the
it's good.
song.
But no, I'm really glad you chose that song because I really think it's such a really good, it's a banger of a jazz tune. It's like I said, we always use the term a banger of a song. It's just you'll hear it and you're like, okay, I'm really into it. It's great. So who had never heard that before? I'm just curious who had never heard it. Matt, so what do you think? Somebody who never heard that before.
I think it's It's a nice song. It's no vocals, so like you can really focus on the band and the instruments.
And not so much on the singing.
Yeah.
Yes.
The song "Sing Sing Sing." There's actually a version that has lyrics to it. The original song had
You're right,
lyrics.
right.
It was just adapted into like an orchestral thing, and the lyrics were taken out.
And you get that a lot now. I mean, there's certain songs that I guess are instrumental, like Moon River
Yeah.
by Henry Mancini. That's got some stuff. And I know there's like, even like, you know, I guess there's even, I forget what the song was, but like there's certain songs where there are lyrics to it, we just like forget it. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where you just are like, oh, it's happening, which is great. Awesome. Well, thank you for that choice. Who would like to go next for their song? Benny, what do you got?
It's kind of in line with the jazz thing.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it'll be on Apple.
That's okay. What do you got?
It's called Floral Fury.
Floral Fury.
Yeah.
Okay, and do you know who it's by?
I actually don't know.
Okay, great. So I'll look it up.
It's from a game.
Is it Cuphead?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I got it right here. So I know Cuphead is very popular, particularly in the game world, but also like Netflix has it. I know Netflix is pretty big with that. So talk about the game Cuphead briefly. So what is it briefly?
It's like, it's hard to explain. It's like a platformer, but you're fighting like bosses the entire time, and it's supposed to look like a 1930s cartoon with
Okay.
color. And the song sounds kind of like the last one.
Cool. So and I guess that's the thing. So I guess, you know, in particularly, like, I mean, you're seeing this a lot now. Like, video game music is very, very, like, you know, it's very popular in video game music. Like, you hear a lot of stuff that's very, very popular. So I'm just curious, like, what is it about, like, video game music? I mean, music's music, right? Like, what is it about video game? Like, you have a lot of people that are interested in that right now. What do you think it is about video game music that people are so, like the audience starts to build about it? What do you think?
Well, most of the time there's no vocals, so it's also kind of like you're focusing on the game, but you're also focusing on the melodies more than like someone singing. But it's kind of similar to like movies, how it fits with the scene, or like maybe a character has a theme associated with them. It's the same thing with video games, except like an interactive sort of way, I guess.
Right. That's awesome. So let's cue this up. Here's Floral Fury from Cuphead, and as chosen by Benny. Here we go. So it's got that Latin jazz sense. It's very big on the drums. So you feel like you're like Brazilian, so it's like South American type of like Afro drums.
This is really good, Benny.
I don't know if it is jazz. Does it count?
Well, it definitely counts. What do you think?
I think it's mariachi jazz.
Mariachi, so maybe it's like Mexican jazz, a little mariachi. You could say it's a little, I like to say maybe it's like Brazilian, like South American vibes, because it sounds very sort of like, even like Afro-Cuban even. So you get things like Central America, like Afro-Cuban vibe, and you have the piano and all that stuff.
Definitely reminded of Cuba, makes me feel like I'm in Havana.
Havana, right. So it's definitely got that Havana sort of vibe to it. Because if you hear like, even particularly in the 40s and the 50s, a lot of that Afro-Cuban music you're starting to hear. I mean, it's there, but now you're hearing it a little bit more prominent. I all that. And I love the piano sounds, because the piano's like very sort of... Again, 4/4 time. It's not like it's confusing any time signatures. You can tell like they had so much fun. The composers really composing this stuff.
There's a whole video on YouTube about how they make the music.
Oh, really?
That's the video that they show.
That's awesome.
It's actually played by real people. It's not like a file or anything.
So it's supposed to like, it's like, well, and
Like an
that's
actual band.
And that's the thing, because now, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because now, like, you're hearing that a lot is video game music doing. You're hearing video game music now using orchestral stuff, and the big difference is because in the times where you could talk to any of our other teachers who lived at that time when NES, SNES, and PlayStation, all that stuff came out. The music is very sort of electronic. Now that thanks to the technology and stuff, you're having now stuff like if you watch play video games like Tears of the Kingdom, Legend of Zelda, you're hearing more orchestral stuff now because now that sound is fully capable of using that sound, which is great. Anybody have comments about that song? I mean, I think, can you hear a lot of that stuff? Now, I think with lyrics, could that, like a sort of a Carmen Miranda, if you have like someone scat singing, could that work, or do you feel like it's better with the instruments, basically? You know what I mean? What do you feel?
Better with.
I like the instruments, but like I actually listen to a lot of mariachi music.
Okay, all right.
So, I enjoy the voices, but usually, sometimes they don't sing in time at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an interesting choice, but I really liked Benny's song. The
I
way
did too.
it was quick and movable. It was fun.
Awesome.
I think that a voice is good for other mariachi songs, but I think it's fine the way it is with just like the acoustics and the music. It's good.
Now, while we're on the subject of voices, because I think this is a great segue into that. While you mentioned that, Evelyn, there's such a thing. I don't know if you guys know this, like, or maybe if you've thought about this. There's such a thing where it's like, do you feel like currently, like in pop music or just like everything in music, the voices are all the same? Like, there's nothing that's sort of like unique. It's like you'll have Billie Eilish. Billie Eilish has her tone, and people are now starting to like sort of mimicry. Do you think that there's still a uniqueness, whether it be to an instrument sound or a voice? Or do you feel like, is there still that uniqueness, or do you feel like it's like there's still more of a copycat vibe going on? Reagan, what do you think?
Yeah, no. I completely agree with what you're saying. I do think for the past, I don't know, however many years, probably since like even the early 2000s, there's been a solid like four different types of like voices, like how people sing. And I think, and that can be said for most things, not just music, but in this instance, like how Billie Eilish sings, or even a few years ago when people were singing what people like to call like cursive singing,
Mm-hmm.
which is like Grace Vanderwall, who was on
Yes.
America's Got Talent.
Of course. Mm-hmm.
That very like, yeah, that different sound.
Have you heard? She did a really good cover of "Give Me Peace on Earth" by George Harrison. You gotta listen to it; it's so good. So, for those of you that like George Harrison, I know because you played "Got My Mind Set on You"
Yeah.
one day in class.
Yeah.
She does a really good cover of "Give Me Peace on Earth." It was a movie that she did. I think it was on Disney Plus.
Stargirl.
Yeah, Stargirl, and it was really good because she, her trademark is the ukulele. That's like her big trademark. And now the music that she's doing now, because it's like that compared to what she is now. Now, like, she's very like sort of edgier. Now she wants to, like, her image is definitely different. If you guys haven't seen her, because she was like the little one with the ukulele. Now, if you've seen her, like, she's more like edgier now.
Yeah.
It's like she wants to be like sort of, what Miley Cyrus did for Hannah Montana. You're trying to shed the Disney image, and that's what you're seeing with a lot of like pop stars and actors and musicians, whether you're like Zendaya or Ryan Gosling,
Even like
Mickey Mouse
Justin
Club.
Bieber too.
Or even like Bieber, yeah.
Like what you were talking about, like with Baby, like that song was like very poppy like song, and he is very, like not, I don't want to say childish because that's not what I mean.
Yeah.
But like, it was good. Yes, youthful.
Youthful, that's the word.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was very youthful, and now it's more so like he's definitely not singing the same way or about the same things.
Right.
Like that he was back then.
Because there's a sense where we're getting older, we're maturing, our thoughts are still developing. Our perspectives are different, are changing, and that's the thing. Because that's why I think like you take a look at artists like particularly Benny Goodman. When Goodman, like when the jazz age was over, he went to more classical, and he's now doing that. And you're thinking, well, why does he want to do that? Well, it's just there comes a time where you want to evolve or change. I mean, you see that with Gaga, you even see that with Swift. She went from the country route, and she's doing that with the pop scene now, and it's working well for her. And I think the debate is, should she keep doing it? And I think, judging by her numbers and successes, it's like, keep it. Probably keep it. Or there could be those that say, well, go to a different avenue. And you're seeing now that with film with her, you're seeing that, which is pretty cool. So anybody, I know, Emily, you mentioned vocalist, like the vocalist sense.
Yes.
I guess this sense is who, you mentioned about that with that seeing that, Reagan. I guess, is there like a particular singer you guys are hearing right now, or who's a voice that you've always were like, okay, anytime that singer is singing, I'm stopping what I'm doing, I'm listening to it? Because I know you mentioned Gordon Lightfoot. Gordon Lightfoot's got a gorgeous voice. But like I said, is there any other, is there a voice? I know, because I was talking with one of my general music classes, we were talking about Nat King Cole, and his voice, very just smooth and just, it's just so good in the pocket when you're hearing Christmas song. I guess, is there a vocalist that screams to you guys, you're like, okay, their sound is gorgeous? Because I know we have singers in the group. Who would you say? Feel free to chime in.
I would say I really like Nathaniel Ratcliffe.
He's good.
Because he has this interesting ring to his voice, where it's not it's kind of old-timey, but he just, I don't know. It sounds like he has two voices.
Okay.
And it's really interesting to me to hear that. And he's singing and putting so much soul into his voice that it sounds like he's singing to you.
Right.
So I think that's really one of my favorites.
And it's great when music does that. It's you have that sense. It's you feel like it's you could be listening to something, you could have a bad day or good day, and then you feel you want to stop. You're like, wait, are you talking to me right now? That's literally the sense. I think it's it's hypnotizing. And it's it's witchcraft, to quote Sinatra, but that's what it is. It's sort of you don't know what it is, but you're just it clicks for you. So that's that. So, what's up, Reagan? Here.
Sorry.
No. Never mind. Oh, who's going? You want to go? Or, It's up to you guys.
I like the vocal or the song "Take It" by Cafoon.
Okay.
It's a really good song, and it just really sticks out because in the song there's two different parts where it's two different voices, but they're the same person.
Yeah.
And it's just so one part's kind of higher, one part's the more calmer person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a really good song. I don't know if it's just me, but
Yeah. No, and I think it's great because it's nowadays we were talking about this yesterday, Maddie. With you guys, it's you're not. There's so many artists out there that are there, and you're not hearing them right now because I feel with Apple Music and Spotify and all that stuff, it's just no offense to the Taylor Swifts and the Eilish fans is out there, or the Rodrigo fans. Don't come at me, guys. I'm cool. I'm good. All right. I feel they're just sort of. It's almost you're holding on to it's like a toy. It's you're holding on to it. It's this is mine. And it's I feel we're not. Do you feel it's there are artists out there that should be getting you were mentioning Steven Sanchez, and I know that you're this is a guy that should get more airplay, and we're not getting that because I feel that. Do you feel that, Reagan, or sense? Do you feel it's there is that, but we're not he's out there. But why is it that not people are hearing it right now?
Yeah, no, that's 100%, yeah. With Steven Sanchez, he's getting more popular with this new album he just released, which is more of his 50s, 60s style that he made when he wrote his most popular song, Until I Found You. And he's definitely been getting more recognition through that. He's going on a European tour, which is 4 shows, but it's still a European tour. But I went to one of his concerts, it was in October, October 15th or something like that, at the House of Blues. And it was a sold out show, but the House of Blues is a small venue. And I got to be up in the front row and take pictures and all that. And it was so much fun. But it was also this guy is so amazing. His voice is so amazing because he's a guy that 50s, 60s like crooner style, like Sinatra and Dean Martin, and like Nat King Cole he's been compared to as well.
And you could hear that with his tone, by the way. You could hear that. Yeah,
yes.
keep going. Yeah.
But it was heart-wrenching, like gut-wrenching to like see how all these people care about him so much, yet he's not getting any playing time because of things like Spotify, where all these songs are just burying his stuff under all of that.
Right.
And it's sad that that's the music industry nowadays, where new artists can't do as well because nobody wants to let go of their top 4 people in their playlist.
And I also feel like, to add that, I don't know how you guys feel like, I feel like it's also stripping away the authenticity because, you know, nowadays, you know, you guys are awesome that you are doing, you know, multiple instruments, voice, clarinet, percussion, trumpet, trombone, flutes. It's great that you guys are multi-versed in that and that you're well-rounded. Because nowadays, and this is just my opinion, I don't know about Mr. Carey's opinion, shout out to Mr. Carey, like, you know, he, you know, plays drum and also voice and other instruments. You know, I do trumpet, I've sung in musicals, I've done that multifaceted thing. And I feel like that's sort of being not branded as not cool. Now it's like, oh, put it through, you gotta sound like this, you gotta sound like this, I gotta sound like this. You know, all your stuff is through a computer. And not that I'm saying technology's bad, it's just like, you know, I think the authenticity level's out there. You know, it's like, imagine like saying Hail Mary and it's like, you know, oh, we're just gonna have AI do it. You know, we don't do it. It's like, well, where's the connection with that, which is great. Hi everybody, welcome to part 2 of our 2-part debut of Musicians on Musicians. I'm Mr. Jonacor, I'm the instrumental band director here at Sandusky Central Catholic School. I'm joined here by our amazing high school band right here. I'm so excited that they're here for our debut episode. Just in case if you haven't caught up with part 1, we'll just go down the line quickly and just introduce, you just say your first name and you just say what instrument that you play. So, Reagan?
My name is Reagan Gibson. I'm a senior and I'm a percussionist.
Benny Bradley, and I play the trombone.
I'm Mason McKeon, I'm a freshman and I play the trumpet.
I'm Evelyn Morse and I play the flute.
I'm Maddie Pachowski and I play the flute.
I'm Charlie Caption and I play the clarinet.
Awesome, and we should note, one of us couldn't be here, Donovan Shafrath, he's out sick. Donnie is a sophomore, correct? Sophomore, yes, Donnie's a sophomore. Donnie, we're all thinking of you, prayers and good wishes and healthy recovery to you and your family, and get well soon, buddy. So shout out to Donnie Shafrath, we miss you, Donnie, we love you. Great, so let's get into part 2. So we want to start off with Mason. I know you were talking on part 1, you were talking about Shostakovich. So what song have you picked for us today? You talked about Shostakovich. What is the piece by Shostakovich?
It's Second Waltz.
Second Waltz, all right. And could you talk to us a little bit about why you've chosen this piece? What do you like about, it could be about Shostakovich or about this piece in general?
Well, it was probably one of the first classical music pieces I really heard when I was younger. And I always liked how nice it was, slow and melancholy. It really can fit into any situation. It's a very versatile piece of music.
Awesome, and I guess the other thing that I have is this song in particularly has like classical like saxophone, and saxophone, as you know, is rare. What do you think of like the usage of saxophone in this? It's not in a jazz sense; it's done in sort of like a classical waltz. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it really makes it stand out apart from other songs in that genre. It's really one of the only classical music songs I can think of that incorporates those instruments into it.
Right. Let's take a listen to it right now. So here is the waltz, waltz number 2 by Shostakovich. So you can hear the saxophone there, which is really cool, and you can also hear the waltz, you know, the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 sound. Now this has been used in a lot of like high-profile movies and stuff, right? To your knowledge, right? Stanley Kubrick is a big filmmaker. That's a big favorite time. So what do we think about this, everybody? What do we think about this song? Because I mean, I've heard this song, and like I said, you've heard this one, familiar. And what about you guys? Anybody have thoughts about like the use of saxophone? I mean, Charlie, as a woodwind player, you're a clarinet player, and I know clarinet is prominent in jazz. I guess for you, hearing that in a classical sense, how does it sound to you?
I didn't actually hear the saxophone.
Okay, so so it's almost like what? Did it sound like a different
It
instrument to
sounded
you?
like brass to me.
Interesting. Okay, and like I said, you could see the background of the
I
saxophone.
believe you though.
Well, no, and I think that's cool because it's like certain instruments can have a sound that's like, well, it's saxophone. Okay, yeah, but it sounds like this, so it does a good job emulating something
Yeah,
that's
you're right.
different or something like that. Great. So I guess I want to bring this up because did you have something else you want to say? I'm sorry, I felt bad. Okay, well, we're all trying to stay healthy here. So I guess I was thinking about more when we were talking about we were talking about the state of music right now. We were discussing that yesterday, and I guess it got me to ask you guys this sort of like big question. Think back to we've all been to musical concerts. Hopefully all of us have been to musical concerts. What are some of your... Well, yeah, we did play one this past week and also with the marching band. So I'm going to go around. Let's talk about what are some of your favorite concerts that you guys have ever seen? Ever. And this could be just anything. This could be school related. This could be outside of school. What concerts come to mind? Anybody? Reagan, what's yours?
I have two. They're very different. I mentioned in the other episode we did, Steven Sanchez. I was very fortunate to see him in concert in front row. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
But my other one, this is more like a nostalgic thing. My grandpa, Tim Clavo.
Yeah, of course.
Name drop.
Shout out to the organist at St. Mary's Church, by the way. Awesome, great, yes.
He used to take me to Fireland Symphony Orchestra any chance he could get, because he has friends in there. And it was just always so amazing, and that's what really got me into classical music and just things like that. And eventually led me to do cello and stuff when I was at my old school.
Right.
But just how beautiful that is, and how you can picture exactly whatever they're trying to tell you what their music is about. You can picture it in your head, and I just think that's so cool that it tells a story, and you can make it your own, or however you want to do it. But yeah, Fireland Symphony Orchestra, any concert they've done, I've loved.
Awesome. Very, very excellent endorsement to our friends at Fireland Symphony. Thank you, Reagan. Do you remember some of the songs that Fireland did? Was there a particular song that you remember that they did and you're like, oh, I really like that, and nothing comes to mind?
Nothing comes to mind other than they had an outdoor one at the Norwalk Reservoir.
Mm-hmm.
And Emily Keener, who was on The Voice, it was a year or two after she had been on The Voice, she sang a Simon and Garfunkel song with the orchestra backing it up. So it was really cool.
What's Simon and Garfunkel's song?
I have no idea. I'm not a Simon and Garfunkel person.
Those of you taking track, Paul Simon and Garfunkel, one of the best duos ever, with Bridge Over Troubled Water, and of course, the Boxer, and of course, Mrs. What was that one? Celia.
Sound of Silence. I know that one.
Sound of Silence is really good, and then of course, Mrs. Robinson from the Graduate, and look them up. They're really, really good. Anybody else have a concert one? Feel free to chime in.
One of my favorite
Mason?
memories is this summer, the Fireland Symphony Orchestra was downtown on Jackson Street Pier playing some songs. I think it might have been last year actually, and they're just so good with what they do, and I'm really excited for when the State Theater reopens downtown, because we'll all have the opportunity to see all sorts of acts from maybe even all over the country there, and that'll just be very nice.
And then I know, because I know that, like I said, I've been following about that. What we're talking about is there's the renovation of the State State Theater going on in downtown Sandusky right now, and I guess rumor has it, or maybe this could be true. I guess they're thinking about putting in a second venue, right next to it or something like that, which I think is going to be awesome. So, fingers crossed, buckle up, guys. Could be a new concert venue for us. Please, if you're watching, please call us. So anybody else? This is good. Charlie, what about you?
So I was at this jazz festival with my family in Columbus, And we saw Robert Randolph and the Family Band.
Oh, wow.
Have you heard of them?
Yeah, I've heard
They're
of them.
good.
Yeah.
They were in Sandusky a couple years ago, but like he does the slide guitar thing, like the whatever you call it. He was doing like flips and tricks and like 360s and stuff. It was crazy.
So what Charlie's talking about is like, George Harrison was very big on this. If you watch any of the old Beatles, what it is just you're laying the guitar flat and you're sort of strumming, like you're strumming the guitar, but you're using like the slide key to play it like that, and it gives it a very different sort of sound. Instead of like plucking it, you're sort of sliding it, and it's getting this very sort of, I would say it's almost like, you're in the beach in Hawaii and you're just sort of just like, you're just like, getting tan, putting your sunglasses on, and you're like, yeah, I don't know why I closed my eyes. I think I watched Bradley Cooper yesterday doing an Actors on Actors in Variety. He closes his eyes like when he talks, and Emma Stone was like, why are you closing your eyes? It's like, I don't know, just a deep thought. But that's cool. Now, I guess the follow-up on that, so,
Do you like jazz?
Yeah, I guess, well, yeah, do you like jazz?
It wasn't really jazz. It's more like, it's kind of weird. It's like rock / hip hop / it's like weird.
It's like fusion.
Yeah.
It's like fusion,
It's
I
pretty
would say
good.
that's
And
what
the
it
slide
is.
guitar is usually used, like my understanding is it's used in like country music a
Uh-huh.
lot, but he switched it up.
Yeah.
So
And that's a good thing you said. It tends to definitely with that, it tends to be in the country sense. I know like if you look at like any, what it would be like Grand Ole Opry. Like if you're watching like Grand Ole Opry in Nashville where they do a lot of country music festivals and all that stuff, you see a lot of that stuff with the slide guitar. And it's unique because it gives it a different sound. It gives it what you want. It's all about like the timbre, the color, what you want. But that's really cool about the fusion. I mean, I think it's terrific about that.
yeah.
So
I
great.
just thought it was cool how he was like flipping and bouncing up and down and stuff, like jumping.
Well, that's the thing. Because musicians. I mean, even Maynard Ferguson, when he's like taking a big breath and he's just playing the trumpet really loud. He's a very famous jazz leader, and you puff his cheeks and plays really high notes. But it's all showmanship. It's about like showing off, And it's like you're that good. You just show off. You're like, okay, I'm going to show off and try to get more crowd. It's like being like a band leader, like Freddie Mercury of Queen. You're just like, hey, and all that. So that's awesome. Anybody else? This is good. Anybody else? No? Well, Evelyn, you got one?
Last spring, I saw a Muse concert,
Oh!
and it was different than anything I'd been to. It was definitely, like, there were openers to it, and there was definitely a huge difference between the opening and then as soon as we started the Muse concert, it was like right in your face, like, whoa, we're actually, like, this is actually good music. Not that the openers were bad music, it was just like, it seemed very vibrant as soon as they stepped on the stage, and it was really amazing. I thought that they sounded exactly like they did in recordings, and like, they definitely used, like, it was songs through all of their albums.
Now, if you would have to, for the audience that may or may not be familiar with Muse, how would you define their sound? Like, would it be like, what genre would you sort of categorize them? Like, where would you put them in there?
I would say it's alternative rock,
Okay.
but they have a lot of different sounds, and that's what I like about them. Like,
Okay.
some of their songs start with a piano, some
Okay.
of them start with an organ, some of them have a ukulele in it. It's like,
So it's sort of like the sky's the limit. It's like they even though we sort of put them in one box, it's like
Yeah.
they like to explore like different boxes. A little bit like what the Beatles did with the White Album. They sort of did like different genres, whether it be like jazz or country, and
Yeah.
all that with like "Don't Pass Me By." So yeah, no, and I guess what is your favorite Muse song? There's so many good ones. I know I'm putting you on the spot for this one.
I really like Starlight just because of how, like, nostalgic and, like, jumpy it feels. But other than Starlight, I really like the newer songs on their latest album, and Compliance is one of my favorites on that one.
Right.
And it's kind of disco-y in a way.
Awesome. Great. That's terrific. That's stupendous. Anybody else got a concert memory before we move on to our next selection of song? Anybody? Well, I'll briefly mention one of my favorite concerts that I saw was in Pittsburgh. I saw Lauren Pritchard. She's a Broadway actress, otherwise known as Lolo. She was in the original cast of Spring Awakening, and she was really, really good. I saw her in Pittsburgh, and just really beautiful folk song, folk singer, really good voice, and her band, I would say it's like a fusion of like jazz, a little bit of blues, but no, she was really good. She was the original Elsa. So Spring and Summer, I forget what that track's called, but she sings a duet with John Gallagher Jr. But one of my favorite concerts, I really like that. So, all right, who would like to go next for their selection? Anybody have a really good choice that they want to select? I know there was a couple people that didn't go on part one, so more the merrier. So, we got a big debate going on.
I think Maddie should go.
Maddie, what about you? I'm sure you got some great songs. We were talking about the Barbie movie, actually, because that's got like 3 songs that are just incredible right now, because we were talking about that recently, but you don't have to pick that. You can pick something else.
I was thinking about Talking to the Moon by Bruno Mars.
Ooh, I know we were talking about Bruno Mars. So talk about this song. You talk about Bruno Mars in particular. What do you like about this song or Bruno? Because he's unbelievable.
So Bruno Mars, I like a lot of his songs. I'm a really big fan. This song is like nostalgic almost. Like it's just flowy and like the lyrics, they like can't get out of your head. Like I don't know, I like it. But he has another good song, When I Was Your Man, and like every time I hear that, I just have to stop what I'm doing and then sing along to it.
Now, have you heard his music with Silk Sonic with Anderson .Paak? Because they did the Silk Sonic. What do you think? Because I know that like he's now doing like a duet with Anderson .Paak. Like, have you heard any of that stuff? And what do you think about that?
I like it. I like Bruno Mars as a soloist, but I think him with Andrew Paak or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
Anderson .Paak. Yeah.
Is still good.
Mm-hmm. What we're talking about is Silk Sonic. So they released an album where sort of like it was like an R&B, very, very old school 1970s like disco songs, and it was really, really cool because they joined forces together and like what was it? They won like every Grammy award like last year. They won like Album of the Year, Record of the Year for Leave the Door Open, and it's a great song. But there are other like really good tracks which are like really cool. So let's take a listen to this one. So this is Talking to the Moon by Bruno Mars. Really love the piano opening to this.
I know you're somewhere out there, somewhere far away. I want you back.
He's a really good
I want
voice.
you back. My neighbors think I'm crazy, but they don't understand. You're all I had. You're all I had.
E major is always a great key to use. It's so good.
At night when the stars light up my room, I sit by myself.
That's a really good song.
I think right here the harmony sounds really good.
And now is he, to your knowledge, is he doing it with other artists or is it just like, is he multi-tracking his
I'm pretty
voice?
sure he's multi-tracking.
Multi-tracking. So it's like, what we mean by multi-track is you'll record one group of notes or like one harmony. So you'll do the melody, and then what you'll do is you'll do another track where you're doing a different note and a different note. Then you sort of stack them together, and it sounds like it's 3 people doing a chord, which is really cool. And he's incredible with that. And is anybody familiar with Bruno Mars or the halftime show? Because I know the halftime show for the Super Bowl a couple years ago, he did that, and it was really good. So who like, anybody want to chime in about this one? I mean, particularly like the vocals. I mean, singers. I know we have a couple people that are in the choir with Mr. Carey. Shout out, Mr. Carey. Anybody, like, what does everybody think of the voice or just the use of the style? Because I know he does a different stuff. He does gospel and pop. Like, what do people think of this? Have anybody heard this song? I guess that's the question. Reagan, what do you think of this? Because you've heard this.
Yeah.
Judged by your nod. Yeah.
Yeah. I like how his voice is like so full. Like what I said in the last episode, I like music that sounds very full, and like not just with instruments, but like his vocals. It like it like resonates in your head, and I feel like that's like really cool. So that's Bruno Mars is great, and I think this song and then Locked Out of Heaven is pretty good.
Locked Out of Heaven is really
Yeah.
good. I really like that, and also Just the Way You Are
Yeah.
with him and B.O.B., which like he's another really great. Like we were talking, I think it was like collaborations yesterday. Like, you know, him and, you know, B.O.B. did that with like Haley Williams of Paramore with Airplanes, which is like one of my favorite like jams of the 2010s, which is really good. That's an awesome one. So, yeah, what's up?
I like in his songs how like he's so calm, but he's like screaming. Like he wants to get out like a message about like love songs. Like
Yeah.
some of these are love songs, and like in Grenade, like it's saying even though you don't love me, I'll still love you, and I just think that's really heartfelt.
It's like, I know we were talking about Billie Eilish. Remember we were talking about it one time, and I guess how would, because I know you're talking about like Bruno, it's calm, but it's very powerful. I guess to flip it, Eilish, people tend to like her voice is very sort of, I'm not saying this as a bad thing, Madison, but you know her voice is very sort of relaxed, and it's almost like it's a whispering lullaby. I guess, does it depend on the message of the volume, like you're trying to get it out there, or do you think just depending on like the sound? Like, you know, Billy does something very simpler, but it's very powerful. You look at like What Was I Made For with the Barbie movie.
It depends on the person, really. Like some people have a stronger voice for stronger messages, and then when it comes to something that it just flows, then they go with like a regular tone.
Right.
But Billie Eilish, her voice is just calming. I think what she means by that is she's trying to get out the message, but she doesn't want like it to be too out there as to listening to the song and thinking, ooh, this is a good song. But she still wants you to like listen to the song and be like, this is what this means.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and I mean, and also just her, because we talked about this. Her and Phineas, like her and her brother, the way they work together is like that's like you know Simon and Garfunkel, like nostalgia. That's like you know, it's good that those siblings have a really good relationship, because it's unfortunate with whether it be the Gallagher brothers from the band Oasis. Those of you who are familiar with the band Oasis, you know, they're down. You know, they didn't get along, and that's why they're not together and all that. So, you know, stay together, guys. Stay together. So, all right. Thank you, Maddie. That was wonderful. Anybody else have another selection they would like to do? We got a couple more people.
No, it's you.
I don't.
Go ahead, Charlie. I'm sure you got one.
So it's called "Ripped Pants" by SpongeBob.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. All right, so this is cool. I really like this song. You're taking me back to my elementary days when this came out, because I was literally like I'm literally what the 4th and 5th graders were when this episode came out, and we were just literally quoting that like all the time at school. But I guess so for SpongeBob, I know like, you know, Ripped Pants, it's more of a comical song, because for those of you that don't know, in the episode, SpongeBob is with Sandy, and they're in the beach, and SpongeBob's trying to lift the weights, and he's trying to act buff, but he can't lift the weights. And in trying to do the big power lift, he splits his pants, and he just gets so embarrassed. And everybody's all like, you know, like laughing, and he thinks, oh no, they're making fun of me, but it turns out they're actually laughing with him, not at him, and they think he's like the coolest person in the world to just do it, and he's all like, oh, well, I'm gonna keep doing it. And then, you know, there's the lesson of like, you know, there's only, you know, there comes a point where it's like it gets old, and of course SpongeBob just loses everybody because they were like, oh, you know, your bit is too old. You know, it's like any walk of life when it comes to like music or comedy. So he sings this sort of ballad about the ripped pants. So Charlie, what do you know, in you hearing it, I guess, what is your take on the song? Like, is it a song to like laugh about, or is it like, oh, I really like how this sounds? Like, talk about why have you chosen this
Well,
song?
it's funny, but it's genuinely like a good song, I feel like. And it shows that there's music to be found everywhere, not just on the radio or on Spotify.
Right, and I think that's it's great, because it's like, I think that's something that gets overlooked. Like, I guess like there's a lot of songs about, you know, comedy, even like for SpongeBob, like the Fun Song and Best Day Ever. And I guess to follow that up, I want to ask, like, I guess there's people that think like a song is a song is a song is a song, but I guess like you as the listener, is it like, do you tend to think like, oh, this song's funny, this song's like whimsical, or do you think, oh, it's either good or bad? Like when you listen to a song, what do you take into account? Like what are you looking for it to make it be like, oh, this is how I feel it's a good song? Like what in your mind of Charlie Kafton, it's like you listen to it and you're like, yeah, this is a good song, in your opinion?
I guess just the way it makes me feel, I guess. Like if I get some sort of emotion out of it, then I would say it's a good song. But I don't say a song is a bad song if it doesn't give me any sort of emotion. But
Yeah, it's like there's something to sort of break apart from it. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, this is interesting. Or it's like you're going on an adventure. It's like, but you were gonna say
To
something.
add on to that, do you listen to music based on your mood?
yeah, but it just depends on the mood. So
Okay.
it
Right.
depends on the setting.
I know some people, like if they're sad, they'll start listening to sad songs. If they're happy, they'll listen
Guilty.
to like really happy
Yeah.
songs.
Guilty. Oh no, I agree
You
with
want to do
you.
the opposite. If you're sad, you want to listen to happy songs.
Well, I mean, but no, and Reagan, and you're right. You want to listen to something that's sort of like getting you out of it, and I agree with you. And I mean, both of you are right. Everybody's right in this argument. Why should I say argument in this debate? Because Maddie, to your point, what I think is, I do it. I can vouch for that. Anytime where I feel like I'm feeling the blues, I will listen to sometimes like Miles Davis's Moon Dreams on Birth of the Cool. Miles Davis, the jazz trumpet player, and I guess sometimes there was a movie quote that said like, you know, sometimes you need to like experience the sadness. I think it was Inside Out where you get to experience
Yeah.
something like that. So great. So well, anyways, we'll pick this up next time. Sorry for, well, you know what? We'll play us out. We'll do Rip Pants for Charlie. Here's Rip Pants from SpongeBob. We thank you so much for watching another edition of Musicians on Musicians. Here's Rip Pants.
And now she won't even spare a passing
Everybody
glance.
wave.
All just because I ripped my pants.
Big Larry came round just to put him down. SpongeBob turned into a clown, and no girl ever wants to dance with a fool who went and ripped his pants. I know I shouldn't move around, I shouldn't.
All right. That's awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Good job.